You are on Raise the Platform on SYN 90.7. And now we have an interview from the other film festival. And we have Mija, who is the director. Mia, sorry.
It's so great to have you here, Mia. We're really excited, not only because I guess the other film festival is such a cool initiative, but just to have you here and like talking to us is really, really cool. Because, I mean,
well, thank you. It's really great to be here. Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk with you all also.
for people who don't know what the other film festival is, what is it?
Well, great question. The Other Film Festival, or as we like to call it, TOFF, T-O-F-F for short, is an Australian-led film festival, and it shows films by, with and about people with disabilities.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and it's a rarity.
What is it like managing a major film festival?
Well, it's crazy. It's hectic. It really is, but it's very rewarding. I think I've learnt a lot. There's lots of things to think about, lots of logistics. I'm dealing with lots of different people, producers, filmmakers. But obviously at the end of the festival, you can see that all the hard work is worth it. And if the audience enjoys the spectacle, then I'm happy.
Yes, so how is the Other Film Festival more accessible than most other film festivals?
Well, it is, yeah, and you're quite right. And we do place a high priority on accessibility, and I think we've got some world standards happening at the festival. Obviously, all the movies that are shown with audio description for people with low vision. All of our films have open captions for the deaf community and people who are hard of hearing. Obviously, we provide Auslan interpreters for all of our sessions, so all of our introduction sessions or lecture series. And our buildings are fully accessible as well. So the venue is at the State Library, so it's really central in the city, easy to get to. Yeah. And also, I guess I would also add to that, the film festival is curated also by people with disabilities and the deaf community. The films are made by those people, so it's not just that it's accessible to see, but the people with disabilities are involved in the making also.
That's really cool. I didn't know that, it was also curated by people with disability. That's so cool. Why do you think film and media are important within the disability community?
Well, I think that there are limited opportunities for people with disability in the deaf community to be involved in the broader sector. I think that, we're segregated a lot in a lot of ways. Our voice is not necessarily heard, so I think it's important. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. We're going to come back and talk to you in a second, but right now we're going to go to Lucy Peach with Bomb. This is one of our Sweet 16 tracks. You are listening to Raise the Platform on SYN 90.7.
SYN 90.7 Raise the Platform. That was Lucy Peach and Bomb, one of our Sweet 16s for this week. We have got Amy in, Alex in, and myself, Jaden. But we've also got some special guests here. Mia, the director of the Other Film Festival. And just to let you know, for those listening at home, if you hear a bit of a delay in the interview that we're doing, it's because we've got an Auslan interpreter in because Mia is deaf. So let's go back to Alex, who's gonna go back to Amy. Sorry, who's gonna continue with the questions.
And thanks again, Mia, for being on the show. The other film festival has a section called Our World, Our Shorts. Why do you think it's important films have an authentic and lived voice behind them?
Well, I think it is important, and I think that's a great question to ask. I think when we see movies in the broader sector, we don't necessarily see disabilities. They're not made by people with disabilities. And I don't think that the experiences there are lived experience of people with disabilities. I think that we often go into that mould of stereotyping. There's probably some cultural appropriation there because people with disabilities, aren't really involved. There's some tokenism. And I think that we, really want to empower people with a disability and in the deaf community to get out there and tell their stories, to really take back that power and reclaim the space as their own and reclaim their own stories. And I think if we're talking about that particular section of the Other Film Festival, all of those films are made by people with disabilities and deaf people. And you may have heard, that idea of nothing... Sorry. So the important thing about that section is that we have one rule, and that is that the story can't be related to your disability. Because what we want to do is show the lives of people with disability as being broad and not pigeonhole them and not show their story from that one angle of them just having a disability. So that's really the only rule in that section, and we're really proud of that.
Yeah, that's great.
That's interesting.
The featured guest of the festival, Jules Dameron, is an American TV, film, music and viral online video director who also happens to be deaf. She coined the term deaf talent online. Can you please explain what it means?
Yes, I'd be very happy to. So I guess it's related a lot to the casting process. And Jules is actually our keynote speaker. I'll give it a little bit of a plug. It's happening on Thursday next week, and I'd love for as many people to come as possible. And I think that we're talking about audition processes and why it's important to, make those accessible. We want to, avoid getting into that habit of having people without a disability playing roles that are for people with disability. And you may have heard in the film industry whitewashing. And I think that we see similar things to that, happening in the disability community. And I think, when I was talking before about not having stereotyped views of people with disabilities on screen, I think that having authentic casting helps with that and having some authenticity in there as well. So Jules will be talking about that, and we'll be exploring further that idea of deaf talent and why it's really important, to have people with the disabilities telling the stories themselves, and taking charge of that story.
Yes, and in regards to filmmakers with a disability, it's such a diverse environment, whether in post-production, for example, editing or video effects, production or production. Another example is scripting, casting, etc. There are many open roles open to those with a disability. What advice would you give to a young person who is interested in making films? And on that note, what would you say to a young person who may have been told that their disability could factor in their ability to be a filmmaker?
Well, that's a big question, and I think there are a lot of things there. And I think one of the most important things is networking. I think it's really important that people get out there. They work out what their strengths are, what their assets are, what skills they have, and try to really exploit those. And I think that people, with disabilities, have a lot of different perspectives to offer, and they have a lot of strengths. And I think that we should be really, plugging those and tying into them as best we can. And I guess also, for people to realise that it is a step-by-step process. I think that people need to learn how the sector works, and they need to have an appreciation of that, and to maybe work out how they can get in and then, move on from there. And I think it's, people shouldn't be frightened to, plug. Get out there and talk about their skills, and don't be afraid of, pursuing your dream.
And if young people want to attend the Other Film Festival, when is it? Where is it?
Well, please come. You're all welcome. It starts next Wednesday, the 28th, to Friday, the 30th of September. And as I said, it's very close to here. It's at the State Library of Victoria. And it's in the Experimedia room. So a beautiful space. All the sessions are free. You can book tickets though, and you need to do that via our website. So the website is all the W's, theotherfilmfestival.com.
We'll also put that on our social media.
Yes, and we're certainly on Facebook also.
Yeah. And Alex, do you want to ask?
If young people want to get involved with the Other Film Festival 2017, are there any categories for young people?
Well, yes, there is. And when we were talking before about Our World, Our Shorts, that section, it's actually particularly targeted at young filmmakers. And it was a bit of a pilot project this year. If we see that there is demand in the community, then we're hoping to set up a special group for young filmmakers next year. So I would encourage people that do have an interest in making films and that are thinking about it to please get in touch with us so that they can hopefully be involved next year.
Yes, so on behalf of everyone here at Raise the Platform, thank you so much, Mia, for taking the time to come into the studio and have a chat with us.
Thank you so much for having me here. I really enjoyed it and I hope to see all of you at the Other Film Festival.